France had more tanks than Germany, more troops, better defensive positions, home advantage, and they lost in 6 weeks to an enemy that most of Europe thought France could handle comfortably. So what actually happened? To understand this, you need to forget everything you think you know about military strength. Because on paper, France didn't just look competitive in May 1940. They looked like they should win. The French army had around 2.2 million men. Germany had roughly the same. France had more tanks, around 3,000 to Germany's 2,400, and those French tanks weren't inferior either. Some were actually better armored than their German counterparts. Britain had sent over 300,000 troops to help. The combined Allied force was enormous. And none of it mattered. Here's why. France wasn't thinking about the war it was actually in. It was thinking about the last one. The First World War had traumatized the entire country. Nearly 1.4 million French soldiers died between 1914 and 1918. Entire towns lost every man of fighting age. The French military looked at that catastrophe and made a decision. Never again. Never again would French soldiers die in the kind of grinding, brutal trench warfare that had defined the previous conflict. So they built a wall instead. The Maginot Line, a chain of fortifications stretching along the Franco-German border. Concrete bunkers, underground railways, artillery positions. It took a decade to build and cost billions of francs. The French were genuinely proud of it, and it worked in the sense that Germany never attacked through it. The problem was that Germany never planned to. French military thinking was trapped in 1918. Their entire defensive strategy was built around one assumption, that any German attack would come the same way it had in the First World War, straight across the border, or through Belgium. So the French put their best troops at the Belgian border, ready to push forward the moment Germany crossed it. They left the Ardennes, a dense, heavily forested region to the south, almost completely undefended. Because everyone agreed the Ardennes was impassable for tanks, everyone was wrong. The German plan, developed largely by General Erich von Manstein, was considered insane by most of Germany's own senior commanders. Push the main armored force through the Ardennes. The French won't expect it. They can't expect it, because they've already decided it's impossible. Break through at the weakest point in the Allied line, race to the coast, and cut the entire Allied force in two. On paper, it was reckless. In practice, it was the most devastating military maneuver of the entire war. On the 10th of May 1940, Germany launched its attack. The first move was exactly what France expected, a push into Belgium and the Netherlands. The French and British forces immediately advanced forward into Belgium, just as planned, which is exactly what Germany wanted them to do. While Allied attention was fixed on Belgium, German armored divisions were threading through the Ardennes. The terrain was brutal. The columns stretched back for hundreds of miles. If French air reconnaissance had spotted it early enough, a concentrated bombing campaign could have stopped the entire offensive in its tracks. But French air reconnaissance didn't spot it. Not in time. The German armor broke through near Sedan on the 13th of May. French commanders were stunned. This wasn't supposed to be possible. The response was slow, confused, and completely inadequate. And here's where France's second catastrophic failure compounded the first. French military command was built for a different kind of war. Communication was slow. Decisions moved through multiple layers before anyone acted. By the time French generals had agreed on a response, the situation had already changed. German armored units moved faster than French decision-making could keep up with. Every counterattack was aimed at a position the Germans had already left. It was like trying to punch smoke. Within days, German tanks had reached the English Channel. The Allied force in Belgium was completely surrounded. The British evacuated at Dunkirk. A remarkable rescue operation, but still a retreat. France's best troops were gone or captured. And the battle for France itself hadn't even properly started yet. What followed was less a battle and more a collapse. French morale shattered. Units stopped fighting, not because they were ordered to, but because the situation felt hopeless. The government fled Paris. The city was declared open, meaning undefended, to avoid its destruction. On the 22nd of June 1940, France signed an armistice with Germany, 6 weeks after the offensive began. So why did it happen so fast? 3 reasons. Each one made the others worse. First, France prepared for the wrong war. The Maginot Line and the entire defensive mindset were designed for 1918, not 1940. Second, France's command structure couldn't respond to fast-moving armored warfare. German tanks moved faster than French generals could think. Third, and most importantly, France's assumptions were exploited perfectly. The Ardennes was impassable, except it wasn't. France didn't lose because it was weak. It lost because it was completely, catastrophically wrong about how the war would be fought. And in war, being wrong about that is the one mistake you don't get to make twice.